Hi, I'm Issa Diaz, and today I'll be doing a statistical analysis on D-Day. So first, let's start with a little bit of history about D-Day. It's called Operation Neptune, but officially it was known as Operation Overlord. It took place on Tuesday, June 6, 1944, in Normandy, France. It took many years to plan and was delayed due to bad weather. Only 2 of the 29 amphibious tanks that were deployed actually made it to land on their own power. It consisted of primary American, Canadian, and British troops, but also included Australian, Belgian, Czech, Dutch, French, Greek, New Zealand, Norwegian, Rhodesian, or present-day Zimbabwe, and Polish naval, air, and ground support. Also, D-Day was the largest seaborne invasion in history to date. Now, why Normandy beaches? Well, as you can see here on this map, there are 4 different beaches that we have. They're going to be these ones down here. So first, let's talk about Brittany. Brittany, well, it was too far from Great Britain, and therefore out of the fighter range. We have Dieppe, which was, there was a raid of 1942, in which it showed the difficulties of a direct attack on a defended port. And then the Place de Cailly, it was the shortest crossing, but had more fortifications and was heavily defended. Also, due to deception tactics, the Germans expected the attack to be here, but we were actually going to be landing at Normandy, which it had suitable beaches, it was within air range, and it wasn't too heavily defended, making it the perfect place to drop our troops. Next up, the beaches themselves. So here we have Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches. Those are going to be these 3 over here. So as you can see, we have where the Allies are going to land, and the red is the German resistance. We have where we are going to have the Allied assault in these gray lines here and here. And the green also down here is the initial Allied assault. The red, again, is the German defense. And here you can see the facts and figures for each beach. For Gold Beach, it took 7.25 hours. It is 8 kilometers wide, or 5 miles. It included the British 50th Infantry Division going against the 716th Division and parts of the 352nd Division. So up to 25,000 infantry troops landed. We only had 400 casualties, which is pretty good. In Juno, it took 7 hours and 55 minutes to go 10 kilometers, or 6 miles. It consisted of the Canadian 3rd Infantry Division against the 716th Division. Of the 21,400 Allied troops, we had 1,200 casualties. Also, 30% of the landing craft was either damaged or destroyed. And then on Sword Beach, it took 7 hours and 25 minutes, as with Gold Beach. It is 8 kilometers, or 5 miles in width. It was all another British company, the British 3rd Division, and it was going against the 716th Division, as well as the 21st Panzer Division, which means they had a tank. Of the 29,000 Allied soldiers going, we had 630 casualties. We also had 6,000 airborne troops from the British Airborne Division, and we had 1,500 casualties there. Here are the final positions for midday. We have the Gold, Juno, and Sword beaches. We have the German resistance in the red, and the final Allied positions in orange. Next up, we have Omaha Beach, which is the main beach that a lot of people know from D-Day. So as you can see, we have the red is the German defenses, and then we have our planned landings over here, and the planned landing forces objectives are going to be the light gray. It took 6.5 hours. It started at 6:30 a.m., and it was over 10 kilometers wide, so it's the longest beach of all of them. We had Allied forces, which were the United States Army, the 1st and 29th Infantry Division, going against the 352nd Infantry Division of the Germans. We had a total of 34,000 troops going and 2,400 casualties. And at the end of the day, you can see that, we have some U.S. movements here. We have all of our positions here that we have taken, and the German troops are very scattered about as compared to this. Here's a cross-section of Omaha Beach itself, so this is what the troops would have had to go through. First, we start with a line of log posts and a line of hedgehogs, which are these little mine things made of crossed steel beams, and usually the low tide would only cover to here, just barely past them, and we wouldn't get to anything else. Next, we have up the line of Belgian gates, which are 7-foot, 7-inch tall steel frames. And then next we have a line of log posts. Some had mines, along with some log ramps, which also had mines. And then we have more hedgehogs, which are 5 feet tall and made from 3 crossed steel beams. These are all to prevent like tanks and other land vehicles from getting through to this area. And however, if you had the tide up, then as you can see from here, you'll be able to skip all of this with a water landing and go straight up to the shingles. That is a cover of 300 to 400 yards. And then we have about 5 to 10 yards of the shingles and seawall or sand dunes and concertina wire. After that, we have just a open space of 200 yards, followed by cliffs that are 100 to 170 feet. The Germans are usually posted up here, and the Allied forces will have to cross this open space and then go up the hill just to get to the Germans themselves. Now let's talk about the landings and the troops. So here you can see kind of an overall overview of the invasion itself. We have 5 different phases, as you can see. Phase 1 was the airborne drop. It was at 12 a.m. Phase 2, we have our deception tactics taking place, making the Germans think we're going to land at Pas-de-Calais, but instead we're landing at Normandy. This happened at 1 a.m. At 3 a.m. is when Phase 3 starts, which is going to be our aerial attack, where we drop in our airborne troops behind enemy lines to secure a passage. Phase 4, at 5 a.m., is going to be the naval attack, in which naval bombardment on German defenses in the landing area begins. And in Phase 5 at 6 a.m., we have our actual invasion. Allied troops begin landing at the beaches in Normandy. However, this was originally planned for May 1st, but was delayed to June 5th due to, again, bad weather. Normandy's coastline is a total of 80 kilometers or 50 miles. And as you can see here, we have our infantry troops landed. We have 54,000 United States, 54,000 British, and 21,400 Canadian. Of those, we had 2,700 United States casualties, 1,030 British casualties, and 1,200 Canadian casualties, which resulted in 4,930 casualties. We also had 23,400 airborne troops going in, with 3,999 casualties. And by June 11th, approximately 326,000 troops, 54,000 vehicles, and 104,000 tons of supplies had landed. And by the end of June, approximately 858,000 troops, 150,000 vehicles had landed. And these are the approximate number of vehicles used on June 5th. So we have about 3,000 landing craft, 2,500 other ships, 500 naval vessels, 20,000 land vehicles, and 13,000 aircraft. Here is kind of a map of where everything else was landed. You see we have the UK, and then also we have all of our airborne routes where all of the troops landed, and all the different beaches. Next, we'll talk about the vehicles that were involved in this attack. Up here, you can see all of our airborne vehicles, which are fighter jets, gliders. We had some bombers, and we also had air transport. Here we have our naval vehicles, which include the specialist craft, minesweepers, merchant vessels, warships, troop carriers, cargo carriers, and destroyers, sloops, and frigates. And then here we have all of our troops and land vehicles. So we have our soldiers, our vehicles, our tanks, and the airborne troops. So with that, we had a total of 10,440 aircraft, 6,330 ships, 14,000 casualties, and 153,110 troops. Now let's talk about the troop landings themselves. As you can see here, right here, and down here, we have our airborne troops. These ones over here on the right are going to be the 4th Airborne Division from Britain, and on the left we're going to have the 101st Airborne Division from the United States, as well as the 62nd Airborne Division, 82nd, looks like, from Canada. So going to Utah Beach at 6:30 a.m., we had the 7 Corps, led by Collins, the 4th, which consisted of the 4th Infantry Division from the U.S. Army, and then we also had the 5th Corps going at Omaha Beach at 6:30 a.m., which consisted of the 1st Infantry Division, as well as the 29th Infantry Division, and that is it for the Western forces. And then on the Eastern Front, we have the British and the Canadians. We have the 30 Corps going with the 50th Infantry Division at 7:25 a.m., and then at 7:45 a.m., going to Juno, we have the 3rd Continental Infantry Division from Canada, and the 3rd Infantry Division from Britain going to Sword Beach at 7:25. Now the times are definitely very much spread out due to the fact that there were still bad seas from the previous storms, and a lot of troops did not make it to their destination on time, got blown off course, or just came in later. And a final overview of what we just went over. So overall, there were 229,400 troops total involved in D-Day. This includes the Allied Airborne, and Axis powers. Here is a number for the different vehicles that were involved. As you can see, we have our heavily Allied bombers, total Allied aircraft, available German aircraft that were allowed, only 815 currently in France, and these numbers alone are just completely triple the amount. We have the Douglas C-4s that were deployed. We had 25,500 Allied sailors, and we had 200,000 beached obstacles. There were 10,395 tons of bombs dropped today, and we also had 23,400 Allied paratroopers, 1,550 Allied tanks, 12,500 Allied vehicles, 6,939 Allied ships were deployed. We had 132,000 landed Allied soldiers, 40,000 German soldiers on the front. We had 20,500 Allied and German casualties, and we also had 15 nations that deployed Allied forces. Now over here on the troops, you can see that there were 6,939 Allied vessels delivering troops. We had 156,000 Allied troops, and we had 11,590 Allied aircraft with 14,674 sorties flown. As you can see, we have our numbers for the Canadian, American, and British forces. Americans obviously had the most. However, we also had the same, it looks like close to the same amount as casualties as the British. And here you can see how many numbers of each one went to each of the 5 different beaches of Normandy. And we had 23,400 Allied airborne troops drop in. Alright, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Please, if you liked it, give a like, subscribe, go ahead and check in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down there, or email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you. And this is going to be the credits for the slideshow I used today. It was created by Statistical, including ink icons by Flat Icon, and infographics and certain images by Free Pick. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.